Hello, hello. It's been on my mind to come in and create a video for you to give you some insight into what Odissi dance actually is. This incredible art form, systemized and classicalized in more modern times, that has come from Orissa in India. So it's around Southeast India, generally. So there are 8 forms of classical art or dance in India, and Odissi is one of them, and certainly one of the lesser known styles, which has obviously got a huge place in my heart. So I really want to share with you some very inspiring and beautiful information about this dance, to give you that sense of how it is so deep and rich beyond being magnificent to watch and to learn in the physical body. So again, it comes from Orissa, sometimes called Odisha now, its old original name. And where to begin? So the dance form was revived. So we know there was a colonization from the British rule, which put a lot of restriction on art forms in India, kind of suppressed them, sent them underground, if you will. And the original Odissi dancers, if you could say that, would be the Devadasis, the women that were married to the deity, were married to Jagannath. So Jagannath being an incarnation of Vishnu, just like Krishna. And they literally were performing, eating, devoting their whole lives to this worship of the deity. So it wasn't a dance form that was classicalized as we know it today or performed externally. So in the way that we really see dance and art utilized today. So obviously it's seeped in devotion. And I'm sure back in the day, before it was revived as we know it now, it did look different. Perhaps a little less or a lot less technical because of that real heavy emphasis on the devotional elements of it. Anyhow, so Devadasi, Deva meaning God. So the Devadasis are the devotees of God, and in this case, with Odissi, Jagannath. So the biggest Jagannath temple is in Puri, which is on the coast of Orissa near Bhubaneswar, where you see lots of Odissi dance. And so we saw it revived and classicalized or codified by 3 main teachers or gurus. So you can imagine them being sort of the 3 threads where all lineages and all dances come from. They formed the Jayantika group, and they really focused on systemizing Odissi as we know it today based on a few things. So based on, first of all, the Maharis or the Devadasis and what they could learn from them. So these women that use the dance form as a devotional offering to Jagannath. And then secondly, they look to temple carvings that have existed for an incredibly long time in Orissa. So looking at the temple sculptures, the carvings, the nuances, the shapes, the gestures, mudras, foot positions, body positions, and whatnot. So that obviously had a big influence. And then also the art form, a very tribal or folk art form called Chow. I'm no expert on all this, by the way. I don't claim to be. This is just from my own learnings. So Chow being performed by boys, quite athletic, acrobatic in a way, but definitely you can see if you study or look to research Chow, you can see the commonalities that come through and what these gurus, these masters have taken from the Chow art form. So these are sort of the 3 main influences, of course, and then, working with the traditional music of the region. So that's where it's sort of stemming from and where it's being codified from, brought together to really systemize it and classicalize it in a way that particularly us in the West can really grasp, as we know things like classical ballet and the systems that are in there. And of course, the influence of the Jagannath culture had a big impact on the style and the choreography. So when we speak of choreography, we can categorize choreographies into either being abhinaya, which is generally storytelling in using a lot of expression to tell story, and a lot of abhinaya by example is based on the Gita Govind and other texts and scripts and stories. And then we have nritta, which is pure dance, where we're just dancing the form, the technique, embellishments. I guess you could say perhaps showing off the skill and the style without telling a story per se. So back to lineage and gurus. So the guru or the lineage that I am from is that of Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra. And I've had the great honor of being able to visit his home and see his grave, and that was an incredibly cherished opportunity for me as a Westerner, as a foreigner. So, and then his son is Ratikant Mohapatra and his daughter-in-law Sujata Mohapatra. So Sujata is sort of, I guess, that thread, that lineage that I come from. One of Sujata's students is my teacher, or my original teacher, that really brought this art form to light and created that deep love for Odissi, and that is Colleena Shakti. So that would be my connection to my lineage, the top of the lineage, which is really, really incredible. And of course, I'm probably very biased, but I have a great admiration for this lineage because of their deep entrenchment in devotion, so the spiritual embodiment and element of the style and the art form, but also their technique and the dedication and the precision and the articulation through the body and meticulousness of it all. This tireless purification of the dance and the spirit. It's hard to articulate in a way, but Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra is just this incredible being, and he passed away a number of years ago. But when you see his work, you can see his dedication and his heart. That he was a very respectful, dedicated, and devotional man, very steeped in bhakti, and he looked so incredibly healthy and strong, and somebody who walked his talk, and was again just such an embodiment of the practice. He was an incredibly skilled classical musician, so playing the pakawaj or the madala drum. And in Odissi we have the great blessing, particularly in India, when you practice, getting to practice with live music and perform with live music. And this is another element of Odissi that just makes it so incredibly magical, or Indian dance in general. So we see that Odissi is heavily influenced from Bhakti tradition, which is why you'll see a lot of women in the Hare Krishna community whom are Odissi dancers. Again, Jagannath is another incarnation of Vishnu, as is Krishna. So people that are very steeped in that Bhakti and devotional philosophy and life are very drawn to Odissi. And Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra was very much a man of heart and Bhakti as well, and this deep devotion. So, but in saying that, in addition to the influence of Bhakti and, using, as I already said, the Gita Govind and the story times of Krishna being heavily much part of the choreographies, we also know that historically Orissa, the state of Orissa, is very much one that comes from deep tantric philosophy, practices, and culture as well. So there's this undertone of Tantra as well in Odissi. And in a very perhaps simplified way, we can really appreciate that from the value in geometry. So the body is creating geometry and stimulating and moving pran through the body. So a lot of the tantric values and philosophy is very much interwoven into the dance form. So Odissi is heavily steeped in Tantra and Bhakti, which gives it that real richness and that depth. So when we talk about it from a more technical perspective, we have two main positions that are the foundations of Odissi dance, and that is choka, which I'm not going to be able to do for you right now, but the arms are open wide in choker position, and the legs are in a deep bend, similar to a plie in ballet, with the feet turned out and deep external rotation. And so choker position is a very masculine position in a way. It's an embodiment of Jagannath, so a representation of the deity of Jagannath, the same energy, and definitely promotes a lot of geometry through the body. And then the second position is that more feminine or lasya sort of aspect, and that is the tree bhangi. So tree, like in triangle, like in trikonasana, tree meaning three, so three bhangis, three bends in the body, and that promotes this really beautiful, curvaceous, womanly, feminine shape in the body. So that's another one of the things that I really love about Odissi. It's just this beautiful, perfect union of masculine and feminine. And I know that's a little bit of a cliche, trendy thing to say at the moment, so I feel a little bit reluctant to say that. But it's like this strong, dynamic, masculine energy and force and foundation in a very controlled, stable way, with a soft, feminine fluidity as well that is also very, very controlled and stable too. So your base positions, Tribhangi and Choka. And then we have, of course, so many mudras, hand positions and gestures, which in many cases are symbolic. And then we have our foot positions, our padas. Then we have the griba, the chin movements. And then we have the sira, the head movements. And then, of course, we have the drishti, so the different ways of using the eyes. So it's incredibly intricate. And then, of course, we have a whole other dialogue about the classical music of Odissi, which is mesmerizing in itself. But that just gives you a little bit of an introduction into the layers of Odissi, a little bit of history into this dance form that is slowly becoming a little more, I wouldn't say popular, but there's more awareness of it around the world now, slowly. And that is why I'm here to share it. I'm not here to be a teacher, but I'm here to be a student, and through sharing it with other people, it just helps me in my own personal growth, in my practice. But it's a really true joy. I feel replenished in knowing that I can share it with other people, because it's such a precious and magnificent, beautiful, there's no real words to be able to articulate it, in my opinion anyway, but this great art form. So thank you for listening. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have anything you would like to share. And of course, please let yourself be seeped in it. Try to find Odissi, try to learn Odissi, try to watch Odissi, whatever you feel called to do. But yes, I hope that brings some light to this incredible, ancient, rooted dance form. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your day.